Well guys, guess what? It's time for a Star Wars movie review from none other than Captain Foley. That's right. We're gonna go to the dark side. Let's begin. That's right guys, thanks for handing that over, Darth. Anyway, yeah, it's time for a Star Wars movie review from none other than Captain Foley himself. That would be me. So I don't have the Star Wars Blu-rays, and I do have the original cuts of the movie, but they're on VHS, and I don't have a DVD player, a VHS player hooked up. So we are going to go instead with the special edition widescreen versions, which are fine. I can talk about the differences between the special edition and the original while we go through it, and say what works and what doesn't work. Sorry all you Star Wars fans for the Star Trek background. Usually Captain Foley does Star Trek stuff on this channel. That's why I said we're going to the dark side. But let's get this in and see what we got. So a very cool little loading screen we got here. We got Han and Chewie and Princess Leia and Luke all hanging out down here. Some scenes from the movie. So kind of neat, the Rebel base. So of course I'm going to be doing all the Star Wars movies. But of course I'm going to do them in order. From Star Wars A New Hope, to Empire Strikes Back, to Return of the Jedi, to even The Phantom Menace and beyond. So they will all be covered, don't worry. But yes, they're going to be done in the order they were released in. Okay? So. Of course, one of the first things that you're going to notice that's different about this one, as opposed to the original release, is it says Episode 4. You should just say Star Wars and then A New Hope as the crawl began. I think it's a great addition. So it's one of those things that in the special edition I don't mind. A lot of people bitch and complain and moan and whine about the special edition added additions, and some of them are fine. Some of them I enjoy. Some of them I prefer. Not necessarily always the case, but we will get into that as it happens. So, to be honest, this is actually one of the things that kind of irritates me about the Star Wars movies. Reading. I just want to get straight to the action, and usually they do right after this crawl, but just this couple minutes of just, why am I reading this? Is this really necessary? Just kind of bugged me. People are going to throw tomatoes at their screen at me because of that, but it's true. But this first shot, this opening shot of Star Wars, is one of the most iconic sci-fi scenes ever filmed, ever seen on screen. It just blew people away, and I think that's pretty cool. And of course, this video is probably going to get flagged by YouTube for copyright infringement just because of the music. But whatever. You got to do what you got to do, right? It's so cool to see this ship being fired at, and then this huge Star Destroyer just cruise in and just not stop. It's just so big. Yeah, this was amazing to see. It always is. It still gives me goosebumps every time. Now, I got to call bullshit on this whole thing. How did they not get hit? I know stormtroopers are bad shots, but anyway, if two droids are crossing my path during a battle, without even trying, probably, I would hit them. Just saying. Just saying. And this is an instance to mark down on your calendar. The only stormtrooper to ever hit anybody. Now, I know there's this theory going around that the stormtroopers allowed them to escape because Ben Kenobi later says, look at the blaster marks, they're much too precise. This is the work of Imperial stormtroopers. So it's an interesting theory, but stormtroopers are the red shirts of the Star Wars universe. Red shirts in Star Trek always die. Stormtroopers in Star Wars always miss. Just kind of the rule. Just saying. I don't want to end every comment by saying just saying. Maybe I should stop that. Now, I don't know about you guys, but R2-D2 is by far my favorite character. I've got a collection of R2-D2s downstairs. I had to bring up R2-D2 to join me for this commentary. Awesome character, totally love him. This part bothers me because he gets zapped and I don't like it. But R2 is by far the coolest Star Wars character, namely because he's in absolutely every one of them and he knows everything that's going on. And I've wanted one since I was a kid. So I just always wanted a life-sized R2-D2, but maybe one day, we'll see. I've seen a few of them, and some of them can do amazing things, and I would really like to build one or, you know, find one to purchase. So if you guys know of any that could be for sale, let me know in the comments below. So this added scene from the special features where they're doing the search, you see the dewbacks, you see the ships patrolling and stuff. I think it's a great addition, and I like that this is in here. Like I said, some of the special features I could do without. This I rather enjoy. I think this really adds to the search aspect of it. And I know he didn't need to mess with his original creations. They were good enough as they were. I understand that. But I think certain things like this really help out. Other things do detract from it, however, and I will get into those as those show up. But yeah, that was a great addition, I believe. So I had to go replace my big R2-D2 with my little guys here because C-3PO and R2-D2 are awesome. C-3PO is kind of annoying, but I figured they'd be better to join me for this screening. So here they are.
Just you reconsider playing that message for him. No, I don't think he likes you at all. No, I don't like you.
It's funny because it sounds like, do you? It's okay, R2. I like you. So, Blue Milk. Okay, I'm Captain Foley Star Trek fan, obviously, and I like the Andorians, the bloobs as I call them, blue boobs. Now, is that where you get blue milk from? That's something I've always wondered. It makes sense. It makes sense. So I realize a lot of you probably know a lot of the trivia regarding Star Wars, but I thought I'd throw some out there that you guys might not know. Like the banthas here, they are actually elephants, just with like wool coats draped over top of them. Makes sense, right? So this scene bothers me because that where he's lifting up his staff, it's wound back, it's repeated, and it's really irritating. I don't know if they can fix it, but they need to fix that because it's something that's I've always noticed it, and it's always bugged me. And I know in this scene too, for the Blu-ray edition, they actually put a digital rock in front of R2-D2 so you can hardly see him, like he's hiding. Which makes sense in a way, but at the same time, I think it's an addition that didn't need to happen. I'm glad it's not in this one. And that scream, Ben Kenobi scream, changes for every one. The best one is probably the original one. Yeah, this scene here where Archie's behind that rock, they digitally put in more rocks in front of him so he was more of a hiding spot. It looks bad and it doesn't do anything for the show, I don't think. So this scene kind of bothers me.
He claims to be the property of an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is he a relative of yours? Do you know who he's talking about?
Why?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Why, in the name of... Why doesn't he recognize R2-D2? I know they're astromech droids and they all look alike apparently. But he has been closely involved with R2-D2 for a long time. Apparently, in the Clone Wars.
He said he was dead.
Oh, he's not dead.
I don't know. It's one of those things that after the Clone Wars and stuff came out, this part of the movie made no sense. It's like he's got Alzheimer's and doesn't remember. Like, seriously? I don't buy it. I got one too. I got Luke's actually.
This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster. An elegant weapon, but a more civilized.
They're fun to play with. They really are.
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the Dark Times.
Before the
Empire. It's an energy field created by all living things. It It surrounds us, penetrates us, it binds the galaxy together.
Yes. This makes sense. It's a mystical energy force. Not metachlorians. But I know they're not in this movie. I know they're not in any movie except for the Phantom Menace. But
And where you come from.
irritating.
I seem to have people always ride single file.
So here's where we hear Ben say,
These are the same Jawas that sold us R2 and 3PO.
And these last points, too accurate for sand people. Only Imperial stormtroopers are so precise.
But why would
so
they
it makes sense that the Imperial Stormtroopers would have excellent training and be excellent marksmen, but why can they never hit anything? It's just one of those conundrums. Now, yes, there's that conspiracy theory that they were instructed to let all this happen, let this go down. You got to check it out. There's also a conspiracy video about the destruction of the Death Star, which is absolutely hilarious, talking about the family ties between Vader, Luke, Leia, and mysterious third ship, the Millennium Falcon, things like that. It's amazingly funny. Check it out, and yeah, definitely worth watching if you're a Star Wars fan, which you probably are if you're watching this. Either that or you're a Captain Foley fan, in which case you're freaking nuts. This added scene is unnecessary. A little bit of this coming into the city is alright, but they go overboard with the silliness factor of it all. The jokes, the comedy, it just... And there's a scene where a huge giraffe-like dinosaur walks in front of the camera. When the original scene, you saw the speeder pulling up and you saw a droid roll by, like an R2 unit, but with like a white dome, I believe. This scene, there was a droid that rolls by here instead, which looked much better than that piece of crap that just walked in front. I personally am a big fan of the droids, and I would have liked to see more astromech droids. So the fact that they took that out really annoys me. And then there's the floating little things in the background. Those are a welcome addition as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, most of that entry into Mos Eisley here is just not necessary. Again, this cantina scene, this guy that they added here, not necessary. He was actually, that's where the Wolfman was in the initial theatrical release. And the Wolfman was pretty cool. I know it looked kind of cheesy and cheap, and George Lucas didn't like that, so he wanted to add more of an alien vibe. I get that in a way, but at the same time, not really necessary. Devilman was just as bad, but they left him in. I don't know.
We don't serve their kind here.
What?
That's racist.
They'll have to wait outside. We don't want them here.
Or speciesist. Or productist, I guess.
Should I have?
It's a ship that made
The Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Now, there's a big thing that parsecs are distance, not speed, but they explain it in one of the novels. The Kessel Run is actually a race that involves a wormhole or some kind of gravitational phenomenon, and the Millennium Falcon skirted very close to it and got slung around and cut basically 12 parsecs off of the time for the race. Something along those lines. I'm not a huge on the expanded universe, but it is explained and it makes a lot of sense. So check it out. Look it up on Google, the Kessel Run and explanation 12 parsecs, something like that. You'll be able to read about it. I can't remember what book it was in, but it's something to definitely look into because that always bothered me, because a parsec is this measurement of space or distance, not time. So, interesting fact. I'm full of them. And other stuff. And here we go for the most famous controversial thing ever in Star Wars history as far as remastering goes. Yes, Han Solo shot first. As a matter of fact, I don't think Greedo even got a shot off in the original one. And that makes perfect sense for Han Solo's character, especially considering the situation he's in. Now, for George Lucas to change that, because this is a movie that kids enjoy and they didn't want to endorse violence or murder or whatever it was, it's just fucking stupid. And to add the little head bob at as Greedo fires, is ridiculous as well. They actually shifted his head over. I don't know if it's for this one or if it's for the Blu-ray. I believe it's just for the Blu-ray edition. But let's just see in 1 second here. Yeah, his head actually shifted over a little bit as far as I can see. So why they did that, I just don't mess with something when it works. And this Star Wars worked without any changes to it. The odd little enhancement here and there, I totally get. I understand, George. But to start messing with things and altering history, as it were, does not sit well with anyone. Disney, I know Disney, you need to release the unaltered versions of these. A lot of fans are going to want them. I personally don't necessarily need them. I prefer a lot of the enhancements in the special edition, so I'm willing to overlook a few things. But it would be nice to have the option to get them, as I probably would. It would be awesome to actually have the choice when you put in the DVD or the Blu-ray to select unaltered theatrical or enhanced, and actually be able to switch at certain points to see the comparison between the two. I think that'd be amazing, and Disney needs to really get on that. Now, a little interesting fact here too: the guy that's following them with the the nose is actually a Bothan. Now, in the end of the movie, we hear that many Bothan spies died to get them this information. So the Bothans are well skilled at getting information and selling it. So that's a Bothan. This scene needed to be added back into the movie. I'm glad it was put back in. Now, of course, we all know that this was originally a human actor playing Jabba, and when Han Solo walks behind him, they had to cut him out to have him step over Jabba, which is something he would probably do. But to do that to a gangster is kind of dangerous. But I got to admit, when they released the this version, they enhanced Jabba the Hutt so he didn't look like claymation, because the first version of him in the special edition was atrocious. This looks very realistic, very good. So good job on that. I don't know if they altered this scene at all for the Blu-ray, but if you know, please put it in the comments below. But I think they did a good job putting this whole scene back in and doing this. It seems a little iffy. You're going to do that to a gangster with all of his henchmen around. I'm just saying. But good job on putting this whole scene back in. There are a few deleted scenes which we'll kind of discuss as they come up that should have been put back in my opinion, and need to be put back in at some point. But that's just my opinion. And you're watching this to hear my opinion, whether you like it or not. To be honest, the addition of Boba Fett here was not necessary, but cool. So yeah, here comes Mr. Bothan Spy. There he is. They got the long snouts. I don't know if that's a mask or if that's their actual appearance. Pretty sure it's their appearance, but... An interesting fact, the dice that are hanging here are the same dice that were used in the game that he was playing with Lando Calrissian, in which he won the Millennium Falcon. So that's why they're hanging there as kind of a good luck charm. Now, a lot of this information that I'm telling you guys is just stuff I've learned over the years or have heard or whatever. Some of it may be a little wrong or erroneous, and I apologize for that. By all means, check out anything I say, though. Most of it's pretty legit. I haven't really brushed up on anything before watching these. This is just how when I watch this movie, this is the things that pop into my head, and that's what I want to share with you guys. So just please understand that. This scene as well, where they enhanced it and made the Millennium Falcon take off out of the bay. Beautiful addition. Definitely a change that I approve of. Captain Foley approved. Thumbs up on that one. Make calculations to the jump to light speed. So he's making the calculations to the jump to light speed with the computer on board. Makes sense, navigation computer. Now the astromech droids, like R2-D2, are actually navigation droids. That's why when they plug them into the X-Wing, they're the ones that are responsible for calculating the hyperspace jumps. They can store up to 10 sets of hyperjump coordinates, and they do on-the-fly calculations and whatever for hyperspace. So he's got an astromech droid there. Why doesn't he just use them? Because it probably would have been a lot faster. Maybe. I don't know how fast the Millennium Falcon's computer is for that kind of thing. But that's something interesting I learned not that long ago about the astromech droids. So I thought I'd share that with you guys as well.
We've entered the
And a little interesting fact as well here. Grand Moff Tarkin, who was Christopher, not Christopher Plummer, what's his name?
You don't know how hard I found it.
Christopher Lee, I believe. Anyway, his boots that they ordered him for this scene were too small for his size 12 feet, so he's actually wearing slippers during these scenes, which you never see, so it doesn't matter, but yeah, just a little comfy, warm fact. And another thing I was as a kid, these things on their rank or service medals, whatever they are, they always look like packets of chiclets to me as a kid. Just colored chiclets. You just want to like pull it off, pop out some gum, put them back on your shirt. Maybe that's what they are. It's for when you have an important meeting and you need to have fresh breath. You can just pop off your rank insignia and just, you got gum. I don't know, but that's always what they look like to me. And I still see that every time I see these uniforms.
I felt a great disturbance in the force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced.
Don't worry, guys. That was just everybody getting word that JJ was making another Star Trek movie
On with your exercises.
for the second one. Yeah. No, I think J.J. Abrams is going to do an awesome job with the new Star Wars movie. He's a Star Wars fan. He's held true to what he loves, and that's great. He hasn't altered anything really in Star Wars that's, like the Millennium Falcon. He shouldn't have got his hands on Star Trek, but that's another video. JJ Star Trek sucks, and here's why. Check it out on my channel. But I think he'll do an amazing job with Star Wars. Or else. JJ, don't mess with the dark side. Yeah, but like I said, I think he'll do an awesome job, and I'm hoping that he does. So, it's my 2 cents for what it's worth. Don't mind me, guys, just training. See, an interesting fact. You know the little pouches you see on the back of the Stormtrooper outfits, the little canister? Originally, in the early drafts, quite a few early drafts leading up to the final script, all the Stormtroopers were going to carry laser swords, which later became lightsabers. Now, that's what that pouch is for, to actually store the hilt, the handle of the lightsaber. So that's a carryover from the original concept that everybody basically in this galaxy, or the troops anyway, carried laser swords or lightsabers. Something I learned like last night actually, and I thought I'd include that for you guys. Another interesting expanded universe fact is that Han Solo was actually an Imperial officer at one point, and so he knows all the Imperial protocols, things like that. But the reason he's not an Imperial officer anymore is because he saw Chewie being mistreated, because the Imperials use Wookiees as slaves. And other Imperial officers were mistreating Chewbacca, and Han Solo couldn't take it. So he actually saved Chewie's life and took off and escaped with Chewbacca. So he's actually an ex-Imperial officer. So he knows all their protocols, things like that. So that's an expanded universe story as well. Take it for what it is. It's just an interesting fact that that I've learned over the years, and it's something that it makes sense to me, because he would know their procedures as far as, I got a faulty whatever, blah blah blah. So don't ask me what book it's in. Don't ask me what story it is. I've read a few of the different ones over the years, but I can't remember exactly what anything was. Please, in the comments below, leave it for me, because I wouldn't mind reading it. But that is a fact that is a fact, and that's a fact. And this door goes up quite slow, but they speed up the film for those sections where it goes up and down. And if you watch really closely, you can see that. Anyway. Another thing that makes these Star Wars movies really work is the fact that they're based on old fairy tales. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. A long time ago in a land far, far away, right? You've got a wizard, you've got a rogue, a scoundrel, a thief, you've got a knight in shining armor and Luke Skywalker, you've got your comedy relief, which is R2-D2 and C-3PO, you've got the princess, you've got the villain, Darth Vader. So it's a storytelling device that's worked for centuries in human culture, maybe longer than that. And that's why Star Wars is so successful. A lot of people that like Star Wars don't like Star Trek. Makes sense because they're two totally different things. But it is possible to like both. I actually have another video about that as well. Star Trek versus Star Wars. Why? Look it up. This scene, well, part of this scene, totally improvised by Harrison Ford, or improv.
Everything's under control. Situation normal.
What happened?
Has slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine.
We're all fine here now. Thank you.
How are you?
How are you?
We're sending a squad.
Negative.
We have a reactor leak here now. Give us a few minutes to lock it down. Large leak.
Why is there a reactor in the prisoner's cell?
What's your operating number?
Well, I guess there isn't. Maybe that's why he's so suspicious. But that's just a great scene, and most of it was improvised, or from what I've heard anyway.
Obi-Wan Kenobi? What makes you think so?
A tremor in the Force. The last time I felt it
was when I had my legs cut off.
Surely he must be...
That's the original line.
Don't underestimate the Force.
And of course, an infamous blooper. Watch this stormtrooper bumps his head on the door. But they didn't recut the scene, which is nice. It's always bugged me in movies sometimes because people make mistakes, especially in their speech. Why is everything in the movie so perfect? In just a day-to-day conversation, I screw up words. So, movies are almost too perfect. So I love that I keep little things like that in sometimes, because it's legitimate. You would knock your head if you couldn't see very well through your helmet. So, something else I always noticed as a kid and really bugs me is this stuff is bubble wrap. It is just big bubble wrap around this too. Some of it's popped, some of it's not. Yeah, it's clear that what it is. It's just spray painted bubble wrap, which you could do better than that, guys. Or don't have it so close to the camera, perhaps. This scene, I think, needed the enhancement. And not necessarily. I mean, it worked with the camera angles and stuff they used initially with him chasing them, and then turns around. But it's funny to see this whole squad of stormtroopers there added in. I think that's an addition that could stay. Not necessarily needed, but one that's kind of a welcome addition, as far as I'm concerned. We meet again, for the first time, for the last time. It's time for lightsaber duel. Remember our last lightsaber duel? We were jumping around, spinning, doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Yeah, man, we got old. One thing that always bugged me is his lightsaber here. It doesn't glow like the whole length of it, just the tip did. They did change it a little bit for the special edition. They added a little bit more glow, but they didn't do it enough. I think they could still enhance his lightsaber a little bit more at that point to make it look a little bit more solid. That's one of the things that's always bugged me. Okay, this part here where R2-D2 and C-3PO roll out, watch R2's one leg. As he starts to roll, it kind of moves further apart, it spaces apart right here. Now, if you pause it here, you notice that they've actually attached this leg to his body with a little metal piece. It's something else I've always noticed, and it really bugs me. I understand that to keep his leg from like doing that, they had to do that, but it doesn't make sense as far as the actual droid would go. So, just something that's always bugged me. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but check it out. You can see it right there where it attaches to his body. little metal thing from his leg right to his body, just to prevent his legs from like bowing out. That whole conspiracy theory where they might have been allowed to escape by the stormtroopers and whatnot kind of makes sense at this junction, for the simple fact because they're leaving the space station. There's no TIE fighters coming after them. There was a TIE fighter that they first initially encountered, which means there's a TIE fighter squadron, at least, or 2 or 3 or 5 or 16 on this Death Star, because it's a big base station. And I realize that the TIE fighters are coming now, but it just seems like they should be already being chased. It's kind of this nice, casual, just let's get away. And I know now it's time for the battle where there's a shootout. Okay. I just think that the timing between when all this happened and, getting the TIE fighters ready to launch, I don't know if it quite jives with what we see on screen here. Maybe it's just me. What do you guys think? How long would it take for them to get TIE fighters out, up in the air, as it were? And you'd think they could send like squadrons of like 26 TIE fighters, or a couple squadrons of like 26, 27, whatever TIE fighters after this one ship. But there's like 4 there, maybe 5, 6, not too many. Which is another. Are they actually letting them escape so they can find the rebel base? And these guns on the Falcon have always been one thing that's really bothered me. Let's assume it's just Han and Chewie, and they need to do this. You got a pilot and a navigator or a co-pilot. Sure, you can just have one piloting the ship and one shooting, but that's just one gun, either upper or lower. It just doesn't. It would be cooler if the guns could be automated somehow. And I know earlier when they left the Mos Eisley spaceport, there was a little gun that dropped down, and I think that's an anti-personnel gun, just a small little blaster for shooting people, not for shooting ships. So that's one thing that always bothered me. If they have a full contingent of people on board, like 4 or 5, that works out beautifully that they can do that and shoot the guns. But if it's just 2 of them, or even 1 of them, they're screwed. They just have to maneuver everybody instead of firing at them. And I know we see that quite a bit in these movies, that's what they do. But it's just something that's always kind of nagged at me. I don't know what you guys feel about that.
What's he care yet? It is for me, sister.
It is for me, sister, he says. Now, is that a premonition of the future? Things to come?
You needn't worry about your
Sister?
money is all that you love.
I wonder how far George Lucas actually had this planned out when we see a few other things that happen. But it's an interesting little thing I've noticed as well, where he says sister there. I know that they're not sisters, but you know what I mean. And these shots of the Millennium Falcon approaching the Rebel base, also additions for the special edition, I find them very welcome. Something that I think is a great addition and doesn't take away from the actual original movie, but enhances it. You get to see more of the Falcon, which is really cool. And to see it do its landing thing is very neat.
My T-16 back home, they're not much bigger than Team years.
And I don't know about you guys,
And may the force be with you.
but every time I hear "May the Force be with you," I automatically think, "and also with you." I'm not super religious. I did go to church, Lutheran church, as a kid, and God be with you or whatever, and also with you. Every time I hear "May the Force be with you," I think that. And there's a scene coming up with Biggs Darklighter where they catch up. And there's originally a scene back on Tatooine at Yoshi Station where they chat and they talk about, here it is, which they didn't include back in, but I think this is a welcome scene as well to be added back.
I got stories to tell you.
Because, old buddy's catching up, and this guy asking whether he can, sure he's ready for the X-Wing fighter. It's kind of just strange that they're giving this young kid an X-Wing fighter to help join in this assault when they haven't even tested him to see whether he can fly the damn thing. But this is a welcome scene in the final, in the special edition, I think. the other scene at Tashi Station, I said Yoshi Station, Tashi Station earlier on, really is too long and should have been left out. But a lot of people say this scene shouldn't have been put back in because we don't care about who Biggs Darth Vader is. So why would this be in here? I disagree. I think the way that they've done it is ideal because you see him again later in the fight, in the battle. So I think it's a nice tie-in, and it's another welcome addition to the special edition. Another interesting fact about the X-Wings is that their proton torpedo launchers can hold 3 torpedoes for each launcher. There's 2 launchers, so a total of 6 torpedoes, 3 per cartridge per side. But because they were so expensive and limited numbers available to the Rebels, Luke only had 1 pair of photon torpedoes during this battle, so just the 2 that he fires. Also, this enhanced scene of the X-Wings preparing or heading towards the Death Star, much welcome in the special edition as far as I'm concerned as well. So I don't have a problem with a lot of the special edition features. Some of them, yes, but overall I think a lot of them just enhance a good film. They're not necessarily needed. You could watch the original draft of these movies and be happy with those. But I think these add just that little something that I really enjoy. So I personally really enjoy the special editions. And I don't know if I necessarily want to watch the theatrical version again. That being said, they were awesome. That's what I grew up on. That's what I have memorized. So when they add additional things, you kind of like get thrown off for a second. But I have them on VHS. Don't have them on DVD because they're not available. And I didn't want to hook up a DVD or a VHS player, sorry, to watch them. So this is what we're watching. And I don't have the Blu-rays, so I can't watch those. And it's always funny. Porkins, and he's a big fat guy. Porkins was initially supposed to be like a pig creature, but the prosthetics didn't work. So last minute they just decided to forego that and just go with the actor. So Porkins might have been funny if it was a pig guy, but still. Porkins, you really want to be on screen with your name Porkins? Seriously? This part where he says R2 try to increase the power makes me think of Home Improvement. More power. And this part coming up, where the Millennium Falcon fires at the TIE Fighter, this goes back to what I said a little bit earlier. All of a sudden it gets shot, and it's like... So I assume that Chewbacca is shooting that cannon. So Chewbacca played an integral part of this whole thing. So that's important in a little bit. And then for those proton torpedoes to do a quick 90-degree down, is that the Force doing that, or is that just their guidance system? The ring for the explosion, good addition, I think, as well. And now, Chewbacca's in the cockpit. Was he in the cockpit the whole time? If so, how'd they fire? But if he just got to the cockpit now... So did Chewbacca actually fire? Do you know? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you do have an answer for that question.
No! Say something.
Poor R2.
You can repair him, can't you? We'll get to work on it right away. You must repair him. Sir, if any of my circuits or gears will help, I'll gladly donate. He'll be all right.
You know that none of your stuff works on an astromech droid, so don't even play the hero like that, C-3PO. Seriously? So here's the awards ceremony. Now, we all know what happens here. Chewbacca does not get a medal, which is sad. But if Chewbacca was integral in that whole battle sequence where he actually fired the cannon that took out that TIE Fighter, he deserves a medal. Even, well, I was going to say, even as a co-pilot, he deserves a medal, but that's kind of iffy. I can see why they might not have given him one, but overall, I say that's racist. or speciesist. We've already gone over this. That he doesn't get a medal. And I gotta say, Carrie Fisher looks damn hot in this dress with the low cut. So yes. What do you think? Do you think Chewbacca should have got a medal as well? And do you think he fired the winning shot, as it were? Let me know in the comments below. This is it for this review, pretty much. You're just going to see a brand new shiny R2-D2 real soon, which makes me happy because I love R2-D2. So this is it for this review. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to be doing all the Star Wars movies in order, so stay tuned for the next one, which is The Empire Strikes Back, of course. Shiny. And thank you for tuning in. This is Captain Foley signing off until next time. Bye, everybody. I gotta wait for my applause, though. Hold on. Yes. We need the Captain Foley applause for my commentary. I notice everybody applauses after he, screams at them. Alright, guys. Thank you for tuning in. See you soon. Bye.